Health IQ Podcast, Ghost Your Nicotine Habit.
If you are wanting to kick the nicotine habit, this episode of Health IQ Podcast will be of special interest to you. I am your host, Brenda Bishop, and our crew today is Bobby Hockaday and Joyce Runyon. And joining me at the table is Rachelle Moon, our preventionist with the Quay County Health Council. Rachelle just recently completed a training to become a certified cessationist. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We would like to thank Constellation Consulting for the opportunity to send Rachelle to this training and to provide us some materials and supplies to use with this nicotine cessation. So let's just dive right in and talk a little bit about what you learned. And first, tell us about tobacco and nicotine and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. I'm glad I got to come in today and talk about this topic. So tobacco and nicotine, when we talk about those two things, a lot of times those two terms do get used interchangeably, but there is a lot of nicotine in a lot of tobacco products. So we're talking about smoking tobacco, so things like cigarettes, and chewing tobacco, like they put the chew in, which is really common in our area, and also in things like vapes. So that's another thing that a lot of nicotine, and there's a lot of false information saying there's no nicotine in this vape, when in reality, many vapes have been tested by CDC and different organizations, and they find that there is a lot of nicotine in vapes, and it's highly addictive. So nicotine is a highly addictive chemical product
That is incorporated or part of the tobacco.
Yes.
So
It's
all
part of,
cigarettes have those,
yes.
and probably cigars and pipes and all
Right.
that as well.
Yes.
And so it's very addictive,
Mhm.
and just like other addictive items, it doesn't take much to get us craving and
Right.
wanting.
Right, because your brain gets used to a certain level of, or a euphoria feeling of something that's addictive, and nicotine is one of those things. And so people find often that it does give them energy or makes them feel like they don't need to have a snack. So it does have some properties that are very attractive.
And when people stop smoking or using a nicotine type product, they often try to find something to replace that. And so therefore we often hear about people gaining weight because they switch to potato chips or
Right,
something.
which is often one of those concerns when you talk to somebody about thinking about quitting. Oh, I don't want to quit because I don't want to gain weight. But if you meet with a tobacco treatment specialist, they should have the skills and the ability to be able to help you to think through those situations and to avoid things like weight gain. But when you think about the benefits of not being addicted to something like nicotine, which is also very expensive. That's just something we didn't mention yet. It's expensive to smoke or use chewing tobacco or to vape.
It is.
I just had someone tell me they were spending almost $200 a week on nicotine products.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, which probably not everyone spends that much. But it was a couple, so it was two people, but still.
So
yeah.
30 years ago when my husband used the smokeless, and we had some man his wife give us a few cans because it had gone to, I want to say $30 a roll. And he said, I'm going to stop. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure it's a lot more than that now, because I think it's more like $10 a can or something now. I have no idea. But it is very expensive. But in that time period, it was really, really expensive then too.
Right.
Along with other things that aren't quite good for us, like potato chips.
Yeah.
But, there's lots of things that aren't healthy that we sometimes can't give up.
Right.
Because we don't have those tools. So you mentioned tools that the cessationist can give us. So what are some of those tools?
So I've talked to so many people who say, I quit a year ago or whatever, number of years. How did you do it? And often they say, I went cold turkey. And I think, wow. I tell them that's tough of you, but there are many tools that can help you. And so some of those include nicotine patches, gum, and there's a couple of prescriptions doctors can prescribe. And those things, and there's also a nasal spray and an inhaler that have nicotine, but you start using those and you taper that off and eventually you'll be done. So those are some of the physical tools that we have. And of course, there's a lot of counseling techniques. Things like being mindful of how, when and how you're smoking and what that looks like and how much you're really smoking, like taking a real honest look, an inventory of what you're really doing and what is it costing you and the health effects. There's a lot of health effects and complications that go with using these addictive substances like tobacco products and nicotine. So
what are some of those health effects for tobacco
okay,
cigarettes?
So health effects, we've got emphysema. That's a long-term smoking complication. You've got COPD and things like asthma related. People often who do a lot of nicotine have trouble sleeping. But of course, there's cancers. And the thing with smoking is it's not limited to lung cancer or any kind of tobacco. It's not limited to lung cancer. You can get any form of cancer due to tobacco anywhere in your body. So those are some of the things, and just again, being addicted to that substance and thinking you've got to get somewhere, be somewhere to be able to smoke your product. That is a mental health effect. So there's a lot of effects.
So, I was thinking in terms of like, we watch a lot of old TV shows, old movies.
Yep.
Smoking was always present.
Yes.
They may not have really referred to it, but it was always present because my grandparents' generation and even my parents' generation, people didn't, I guess, realize the harms and smoked, that was just part of life was smoking.
Right.
And
they
tobacco.
Didn't think anything about it.
Right.
Yeah, it is in a lot of TV programming, commercials, and that kind of thing.
But I, have many family members who had cancer or especially mouth cancer due to smoking that they...
Yeah. And we didn't even bring up the secondhand effects, did we?
Right. No.
The secondhand effects that affect your family. Your children breathing that smoke. Even with the vaping, there's so many chemicals in a vape. And like I said, a lot of those do have nicotine. We've heard as many as 18 packs of cigarettes can be in one vape cartridge and maybe more. They don't test every single one. A lot of those are not regulated in an appropriate way, so we don't even know. But even secondhand vape smoke, breathing that has the nickel, the chromium, aluminum in it, and children inhaling that, we don't really know yet the eventual long-term health effects. And of course, if a woman is pregnant, you can have lower birth weight babies and things like that go along with that.
Well, and your kids have more trouble thriving at first, Also, asthma. Did you say asthma issues?
Asthma is a huge secondhand. And can be firsthand, of course, but secondhand result of someone smoking, especially in vehicles or in the home. So, yeah.
So there's all those kinds of effects. And then when we're talking about youth especially and the nicotine, how does that youth who are vaping or smoking, how's that nicotine affecting them?
So when you're talking about addictions and you're talking about young people, any time a young person gets a hold of an addictive substance, it has a very profound effect on their brain development because their brain is not fully developed. So that's the thing. It makes it hard to concentrate. It makes it hard to think straight. And then they're usually not sleeping properly. And I want to reiterate to parents and young people, nicotine is a highly addictive substance. So if you catch your kid vaping, it is very likely that telling them stop doing that is not going to be effective. You need to get with a physician or a tobacco treatment specialist and have some support for your young person so that they can kick that habit.
Well, and I've seen stories where they can't even go a whole class period because they are so addicted that they're trying to sneak it. And of course, we have all kinds of new products geared to helping those kids sneak their vapes.
Right. There's lots of different kinds of things that you think is a marker, or you think is just an ordinary pencil, or you think is a normal hoodie, and it really has a vape pocket, or it is a vape itself. So there is, and you know, these companies, they market to young people. You can go look at their stuff and see it with bright colors and flashy things. I'm trying to get a customer, and they don't care what happens to their customers in the long run. They're just trying to fill those spaces of where they've lost customers due to health effects or other things. And so, yeah, they're just looking for another customer.
And we all know these people who are in their 90s and have smoked since they were 10 years old or whatever.
Right? There's always those people.
And so, but for the majority of us,
right,
that cancers, the COPD, the emphysema, the cigarettes are going to affect us.
Well, and you're saying, yes, they may be alive, but often those adults are not thriving at that age of 90. They are suffering with something like emphysema, usually and on oxygen or something like that. So, you know, if you want to thrive, you got to choose healthy choices.
True. So if somebody decides, okay, you're right, I need to stop my nicotine, I need to stop my chew, I need to, stop vaping, what are some of the first places they could go to for help?
So one of the ones that we have as a resource here in New Mexico is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. You can call that, and there's free resources for getting the support and help that you need. And I think it's really important if you can get into a doctor or a treatment specialist or a group of people that have the same goals as you, that's very helpful. So that's one of the resources that we have. There's also Vape Free, and that one's more geared for young people. And there's many, many, many more. You can search it on Google or your,
a couple
search
years
engine.
ago, we had 1-800-QUIT-NOW people here at an event, a resource fair that we had. And one of the people who stopped by their booth wanted to quit. And so she signed up, and she told me she was so excited because every day she got a motivational text to help her stay off her cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's many apps and things now you can use that give you badges and things like that to help encourage you along the way, which is really awesome. We didn't always have that.
But sometimes that motivation that make us think of, help us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
Makes us not have that need for that maybe.
Well, and I want to remind everybody, and this is something I learned in my training, is it's never too late to quit. Even if you think I'm toward the end of things, I'm at the end part of my life, it's still never too late. There are still health benefits, no matter your situation.
I think I read somewhere about, if you quit now, in 5 days, you will have your system will have cleaned out this much. I can't remember what it all is, but I think we had a post on that once. We should find that.
Yeah, we should.
Put it on our website. But it made me think, oh yeah, wow, I could reduce my risk for all these things pretty quickly, even though maybe I had smoked for 20 years.
Right. Yes, because your body starts to clear out, and yes, you cough when you first quit. If you've been inhaling something that should not be in your lungs, which is any form of vapor or smoke, but that's just your body doing its job. And within a few days, you're going to start being able to feel like you can breathe. And to remind yourself what it felt like, maybe you should. One lady told me she holds her breath. If she ever thinks about smoking, she had quit, and she just holds her breath for a few seconds, and it reminds her what that feels like to not be able to breathe as well as she had in the past. So,
well, that's a good trick.
Yeah, it's a little tip.
So I can remember as a kid seeing the black lung.
Oh, yes.
So that was always enough of a deterrent for me.
Yes, which is another, thanks to Constellation, we were able to get a set of those lungs where there's a healthy lungs and unhealthy lungs that had been smoking lungs, and they're pretty popular when we take them out on our tables, and people, what is that, and what are you doing? But it's a good reminder of what we do to our bodies when we make choices.
Right, and we kill those little air sacs, so then we can't get as much oxygen in our lungs. which then makes it harder to do everything.
Yes, to walk or to do anything, work around your
Mhm.
house, go out in the yard. All those things
So-
become more difficult.
So before we stop our thing, is there anything else that you want to make sure we got into our discussion?
Just, a reminder to people that there is help available and to seek that help. Don't be embarrassed. A lot of people have smoked in the past maybe, and they've either quit or are trying. And also just a reminder that it does take many attempts for someone to finally put down a habit, usually up to 7 or 8 times. And it's okay. Those are tries. And don't think I can never do this because you've tried a few times and it hasn't worked yet. Maybe you just haven't found the key or the right combination for you to help you quit. So
Sort of like there's like a rule, was it 14 times you got to do something in order for it to become
a habit. Yeah. So in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to try it quite a few times for a long time.
Yes.
But anyway, if you're trying to make water drinking your habit, you
Yeah.
got to do it 14 days.
Yeah. And and I think that point was not, don't think you need to be tough and go it alone. There are people that are there to support and help you. So
Right. Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for going forward with this and doing all that work to become certified, because I know it was a lot of classwork and a lot of information you had to absorb. But I look forward to seeing some of the interesting partnerships we're going to be able to form in the future to help our community sort of break away from nicotine. And I want to remind all of you to check out our website at qchealthcouncil.org, as we will be putting up quite a bit of information on tobacco and nicotine cessation. And we have plenty of other resources there as well. And thank you for joining us today, and come back next time as we have another interesting health topic for you.
Special thanks to our guest contributor for this episode, Rachelle Moon, Quay County Health Council Preventionist Coordinator. Our host was Brenda Bishop, Quay County Health Council Coordinator. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Health IQ. We had a great time putting this together for you.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without the whole team. A big thank you to our director, Robert F. Hockaday.
And to our producers, the team behind the curtain. That would be Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon.
They're also the ones who handle all the technical stuff, like the video and audio. Again, that's Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon.
And for all you camera enthusiasts out there, the camera operator for this episode was Robert F. Hockaday, with Joyce Runyon as our second assistant camera.
And finally, a huge shout out to our amazing editors, Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon. They're the ones who make us sound good.
And of course, we can't forget the music. Special thanks to David Morris for providing the credit music.
That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in to Health IQ.
We'll see you on the next episode. Funding for this podcast is provided by New Mexico Legislative Appropriation from Representative Jack Chatfield. Brought to you by Quay County Health Council. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Quay County Health. If you have content ideas, reach out to us at healthiqpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast was created solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for advice from a healthcare or mental health professional.